Good evening, everybody. My name is Tamar Russell Brown, and I'm from Gallery Sitka, and we're located in Shirley, Massachusetts. And we have a late summer, early autumn show called Harvest this year, and we did everything online. And we had a number of the WCA, which is Women's Caucus for Art, members from the North Central Mass chapter submit work. They invited one of the New Hampshire pods as well. And then, of course, we invited some of our represented artists to join this show as well. So tonight we're going to be interviewing Haley Morton. She's a photographer who's very near to our gallery. She's been with us a long time, her and her husband as well. And tonight we're going to interview her because she submitted a piece to the Harvest Show and was part of this show. So welcome, Dawn.
Thank you, Tamar.
Thanks for coming. So really quickly, everybody, we are filming. This is live. We're streaming on Facebook Live at Gallery Sitka East. We're also filming this, and we're going to use this later for Zoom and YouTube. So if you choose to make a comment later, just remember you are being filmed. A few housekeeping things: keep yourself on mute and don't show your video unless you want to be seen by the rest of the people who are in Zoom. We have someone with us who's in the background keeping track of everything, Doreen Lascala. She's another local artist. So if you have any questions or comments, you can put them in the chat, or on Facebook Live, you can make comments and she will ask the questions for us at the end. So thank you so much for that. So let's talk to Dawn. How are you doing today, Dawn?
I'm doing all right. I'm excited to chat with you and the masses on Facebook land.
Facebook land. So I wanted to ask you, Dawn, we'll start a little bit at the beginning of your life and your career. Could you tell us where you're from and a little bit about your background, your education?
Sure. So born and raised in New Jersey, central New Jersey, exit 7A, for those of you familiar with the state. I had gone to college in Massachusetts. That's how I ended up here in the north. I had gone to Endicott College. Some of you folks may know that. They had a very specific degree in, it was called radio and television at the time. And it was a 2-year school for women. And it was very specialized in that the student to faculty ratio was quite low. It was like 20-1. And you had a lot of accessibility to equipment and that type of thing. So I actually was a video major. And so I learned, video, and I had been interested in photography in high school. So I was originally like, I'm going to be a photographer. And then I took video in a class in high school. And I said, wait, I'm going to do video because it's moving. So, but I've always I've started as photography at that point and continued photography all the way through my career. But I had gone to Endicott College, and that was a 2-year, and I graduated there. And then I went on to Fitchburg State and took their video major as well, and graduated from there. It was a fantastic school. Both schools are actually quite fantastic. Amazing internship programs in both. And I graduated and got an internship in Boston at a production company and have been working in video production ever since. And all along while I was working in video production, I've been shooting as well. A combination of things for myself, and also started, I'm not sure if people can relate to this or not, but I would go to events and weddings and things, and I get kind of bored. I don't know if it's shiny object problem or what, but I start to look for something to do. And I always had a camera with me, so I'd start taking pictures, and then I kept hearing things like, wow, your pictures were better than my photographer. I was like, thanks. But then I kept hearing it. So I thought, okay, well, maybe there's something here. So I would slowly develop, and I would do it in addition to their photographer. And then eventually I kind of worked into events for people recommended by other folks. And so that was going on the side for my whole career. And I've enjoyed doing that. But as far as, growing up in New Jersey, moving here, went to college, gainfully employed. So I've been blessed in the fact that I've what I majored in, I'm working in for a living with lots of creative people, and I'm able to help manage all the creative folks do what they need to do in the day. And then on the weekends and at night, I do my kind of work on my own creativity with shooting and whatever else. I'm just watching other people as well. Lots of being in a creative business I've had the chance to work with countless creative people, uh, whether they're filmmakers or they're musicians or painters or illustrators. I get so energized by the creativity that people bring, and as times change and as people grow, their interests change as well. So myself included. So it's just it's ever evolving, and I've really just enjoyed it, and it keeps changing. I'm constantly interested in something slightly different every year, and as we all know, this year has been interesting. So I've got way more pictures of my cats than I really should have, but that's got to get out a little bit more. But this is the best time of year, harvest,
Yeah,
fall, to do that. So I'm excited.
it's a beautiful time of year. So can you tell us, Dawn, for like for people who don't know, understand your field, like what's your day to day at your job in terms of how does it work?
Let's see how much time. Well, basically, I think in general, I manage creative teams. So I help, I'm sort of a right brain, left brain 50-50. So my day job is really managing creative teams to make sure in film and video production. Currently, I'm working in MIT Video Productions. And we're basically, people are shooting every day, whether currently it's virtually, but previously it used to be with cameras. And we just make sure everybody has what they need every day. I work with clients to problem solve. What is your event? What are you doing? Is it a documentary? Is it a promo? What type of thing are you trying to solve? What's your creative dilemma? And then we help put together what it is, and then we shoot it, and then we deliver it. So I'm involved in the whole process from beginning to end. I'm just kind of safeguarding to make sure that all of the items that they wanted get delivered. So my day-to-day is basically kind of problem solving, creative, and production, which is fun. So I'm sort of laughing because like every job is fun, but it is actually is. It's something different every day. And for those weirdos in production, and same with any kind of creative business, they just look for something interesting to do. They couldn't work at a bank. It's just not going to happen. So we relish a challenge and something exciting to do. Maybe
So
not too exciting, but exciting.
so what are the platforms, Dawn, that you use in your work?
Platforms. Well, previous to COVID, everything in work has been shooting film, not so much film anymore. That sort of has gone the way of the albatross, but mostly digital, shooting video, shooting stills if need be on all different cameras. Also using all different internet platforms, whether it's something custom or if it's all the stuff off the shelf. And basically everyone has a different need. It's really depending on who your audience is, and basically working in that format. So if it's like, we're really pushing out marketing and it's all about Instagram and Facebook, then you tailor everything to that audience and to that platform, because not everything reads the same as it would if it was on YouTube or Vimeo or in a movie theater, or on television, for instance.
So while we're talking about your day job, your day work, um, for someone young who would like to get into film, video editing, what would you recommend a young person do if they're interested in this field?
Well, I've been chatting with young folks since I was one. I started helping with internship programs about the time I graduated from college, and I got my first job, and they're like, "You can handle the interns." I'm like, "But I just graduated." So since then, I've been working with students kind of for the same question, but my knowledge has changed over the years since I did get a little older, since I was 21. But basically, it really comes down to sort of, as one of my good friends would say, kind of looking for your North Star. Basically looking at what the big constellation for you is your interests and needs. You've got soft skills and you've got more solid skills. Like for instance, you may be interested in certain technical aspects, but you also may have some soft skills in your life. So you think, well, I might want to be a photographer, but I'm also really interested in science, so how do you kind of combine your interests with your, what you feel is your good technology, and, grow in some areas that you may be looking into some areas, but getting on mailing lists, joining LinkedIn, looking at all the different groups that are out there and learning from the experts. It's a lot of research and it's a lot of watching. And so anybody who's kind of growing up in this industry, whether it's in any visual industry, really, you just have to do a lot of research, a lot of watching, a lot of, trolling the internet, not a bad thing to do sometimes. So I haven't read a book in a while, but it's, definitely a lot of research, and making connections. As we know, it's networking, and not everybody likes to talk to people. You'd be surprised. I'm one of those, I like to talk to people, but a lot of people aren't. So there's ways that they can get connected as well that are they're comfortable with. So got to keep that in mind. Not everybody's outgoing.
Yeah, it's true. I think especially in the creative space, a lot of people like to do what they do, but interacting with the public is harder. Well, thank you for that.
Absolutely.
So when did you really start shooting your personal work, and what was the style you first started shooting?
Sure. So I started shooting in 11th grade. Other than the flip flash thing, in middle school and going to the museum and you're cutting everyone's heads off in the pictures. Besides that stuff, I basically got my first camera. I had a boyfriend in high school that had a camera, and he started teaching me how to use his. And I thought, this is kind of cool. I like this. So I started in 11th grade, and then I picked it up fairly quickly. And I think what I like taking pictures, nature, basically. That's kind of, I think, your gateway into media, is just seeing what's around you and trying to capture it. And it's like taking a picture of something and you see a field, you see the sun coming up, or you see something out there and you take a picture and like, well, that's not what it looks like, after you take it. So starting to kind of figure out what your eye is, and then technically, how are you capturing this technically? Is it working for you or not? So those are the things that I started with. But mostly, I think the first decade was a lot of just what I saw, nature, and getting the hang of that. And then I would say in my mid 30s or so, I started to kind of turn the camera around a little bit and think introspectively. So instead of just taking pictures of things I saw, I was thinking about the people I saw and having conversations with them and feeling like I wanted to capture who they were, like represent them more in a documentary style versus them walking down a street, but really think about them and as a person and trying to capture them. So I get into that a little bit. And that's what I found really was a nice blend of my eye, of what I saw, as well as trying to kind of make a story out of who that person was, even just if it's one still versus a video. And that I really enjoyed. But part of it all along has been this little thread all the way through of the kind of a color, texture, juxtaposition. I'm into, order, I guess is the right thing. I don't like chaos. I like order. So certain things feel right in a certain place on the screen. So anything that just, everyone's into like ASMR and, cool things to watch, like factories, like making things like that stuff I love. So visually, if there's some kind of an image that I'm seeing that things line up a certain way, it's just candy. It's lovely. And when you mix those with whether it's nature or people, that's just all of it together is just amazing. So I've been lucky to shoot things like that for quite a while. And then the advent of social media was exciting in that for a while I had been sharing my work mostly like trunk shows and print some stuff and sort of sell it on the side. And it's kind of hard to, it's a lot of work, as we know, people who run galleries and such. It's quite difficult to sell work. And so I'm only doing it on the side because I'm working full time. So I decided one year, I thought, one way to share my work is maybe I'll make a calendar. It might be kind of fun. So I had a full big one, paper, and I made a calendar. And I was like, that was cool. And so I started selling those. I think, I'll sell a bunch. And I gave a bunch as presents because it was around, December 25th or so. And I started handing them out for presents. And And then it was a bit of a following. And then I went from the large style calendar to the little kind that sits on your desk. It's like, that big. And then I started getting people looking for them. And so I did it for 15 years. It wasn't a little flash, flash in the pan. It was a 15-year adventure of making my calendar. It is a lot of work to make a calendar in that quick of a period of time, because you make it at the end of the year and you look at your pictures for the year. And so you really have to look and say, now, what are the 12 photos that I've taken all year when you've probably taken 3 or 4,000? And you're like, which 12 should I pick? And it's like picking your favorite children. Of course you don't have any favorites. But I was able to find 12 plus a cover. And so I did it for 15 years and it was fabulous. And then, the life changes and, I moved, I had a daughter, and so it just got complicated. I'm like, I just can't do the calendar anymore. And I'm still getting kickback from that. So I stopped it around 2016 or so, but I keep thinking about bringing it back. But for now, I really enjoyed that time. But anyhow, I don't even remember why I started talking about the calendar, but that was just a blast.
I wanted to ask you, so, because I asked you about your work and the style. And so what I want to ask you is, you have a really interesting eye. So that's what's kind of interesting to me. Like, a lot of people take very beautiful photos and they put them on Instagram, and certainly the camera combined with these days filters and all these different things, lighting, if somebody knows what they're doing with their mechanism, whatever they're doing with, like, there's a lot you can do. But having the work that you do, so I wanted you to talk about it a little bit. The work that you shoot is there are places and things that most of us don't see. So I wanted to know, from what you talked about in high school when you were shooting something and learning to now, how has your eye changed? And could you describe for everybody, what did it change because of how much you've looked and looked and looked at things and sort of educated your eye? Or how is it that you came up with this? And we'll talk even more when we show you the work. But you always shoot, what I've seen of all your work these years is that things are really specific and tiny increments of time that most of us don't see, or we see them and we pass by. It doesn't stay in our heads, and you capture it. So how did you train your eye to see that?
I don't know, actually. It's a good question. I'm trying to figure out when I first started it, but I think the calendars is what really brought it out to the front, because I needed to do a bunch of things. And I thought, well, you've got a small format. And I always liked things that were more design sense, color, texture, and juxtaposition. So when you're making a calendar, you have to think about, what I'm quirky. So I like weird things. I'm a little strange. So anything that's a little out of the ordinary, I would like to shoot. And I would like to put that type of thing in a calendar, but not everybody is a little out of the ordinary. So I would try and make the calendar to be like a pretty picture and a nice scene and a cool sunset and something holiday related, and then something really weird. And so I'm kind of mixing them all in. But I think that's when I started kind of realizing that I can bring my quirkiness into my art, because before I hadn't, so I think I gave myself a break, and I decided, let me just put it in and mix it in with everything else. And so I started putting that out there, and it continued. And then when Instagram popped up and Facebook, then I had a forum, because that's definitely where that lives. It's not some, if you've got a Barbie in a Barbie car, who's hanging out, looks like she had a car accident, that's not something that you're going to put in a gallery, but it's hilarious, if you have the right little blurb to go with it. So I also am a writer, and I've written my whole life, and it's one of those things I just haven't explored yet, but it's there. It's still in the tool chest. I just haven't really pulled it out for fun. But those are the kind of things that I enjoy writing, small little blurbs to go with the photos. But I think my eye has changed in such where I don't know how, but I will walk down the street just going to work, that kind of thing. I was, working at MIT, working at Cambridge, and I just start walking. I just stop and I just see something and I stop and I take a picture. I'm down on the ground or whatever. And people don't think twice when they see somebody doing something weird in the city. But I can't help it. It's just so cool. And I thought, oh, that's an odd little thing. And I don't know how I do it. I do it. There are some people who, a friend of mine, Barb, she'll walk down the street and she'll stop and pick out a 4-leaf clover. It's those crazy people that just have this sense, little spidey sense for that. And I've always been able to do it. And I do still like the ordinary. There's always a cool, sunset and a flower, and I'm still shooting those. But I do like a touch of the bizarre, something that's sort of extraordinary but looks ordinary. And those are fun. But I really, that's like one of my favorite things to shoot is little slightly bizarre things. So anyone who's been on my Instagram feed is where I kind of put in, it's really just my life. It's kind of like, that was weird. And then there's like, this was pretty. And isn't that funny? And, it's just sort of how you would talk to your friends. So that's the kind of thing that I've enjoyed in the past, however long Instagram's been there, or however long I've been posting to it, a couple of years. That's what I've enjoyed the most is sort of sharing that, because you can share that freely. No one has to pay for that, but it's just more of like a conversation I'm having with anybody who wants to listen, I guess.
That's the cool thing about social media for sure. So let's switch a little bit and talk about harvest a little bit. So that's the theme of our show. This was a jury show, which was a lot of fun. Our first kind of official juried show. So we're kind of proud of that. And it's an all women's show. We're also proud of that. So I'm going to flip the screen, Dawn. I think you guys give me a second here to share. And we're going to look at her work. Give me 1 second. Technology is fun. And can you tell us a little bit about this work? This is what was chosen as Dawn's image for this show.
So this is my daughter. We happen to go pumpkin hunting. That's what we call it, because picking pumpkins is boring, but you have to go hunting for them. So we actually like to, ride up in the wagon and go searching. So this happened to be a day that was very stormy. A lot of storms were rolling through, and we had raincoats and that kind of thing. We weren't quite sure what we were going to get. So I'm out in the patch, and she's sort of loping around, and she had picked a pumpkin. And there was just something about, if you look at the sky and the light it was like trapped in between the earth and the sky. There was this patch of bizarre light. And then I can see these hints of pinks and purples and oranges and greens, like really bright, vivid, all the grass and the weeds and the part of the patch. It was dying, but it was beautiful. So you have this kind of random bunch of dead things laying there, but they're so brightly colored, and there's little pumpkins hiding. And it was this mix of color. And I don't know how the light managed to do that, but this really is not affected at all. This is not photoshopped or anything. This is just how it was that day. And my daughter has the blonde hair, and so that really stood out as well. So that it's one of my favorite photos. And for a harvest, I'm glad it was selected. And part of what I do like is when it's a moment in time, but it's also a feeling. So it's not just a pretty picture. It's just, to me, it means something. So that's one thing I do like is having a moment like this. Was just an innocent moment of picking pumpkins, and it would just happen to be beautiful.
And I will say I enjoy looking at your photos, Dawn, the ones of your family. I think you're one family that I definitely feel like celebrate the outdoors, most of the summer especially.
Yes.
I wanted to see if you could comment on that. I think you guys are a really good example in terms of a family who enjoys nature.
Yeah, I think it doesn't hurt. My daughter's been photographed since she was a tiny bean, so it's been fun doing, experimenting on her a little bit when she was, not so much as a tiny squishy baby, because you can't do much with them. I wasn't one of those people that sets up babies and makes them look really cute. And I'm not a baby person for that type of stuff, but I've done a few baby photos. But when they get a little older and they have some personality and they're in trouble, or they're looking cute, like she would look like this little Swedish waif, and so maybe I was growing up with like Calvin Klein commercials, in the 80s, that kind of thing. And but I enjoyed kind of just stark, just hair, eyes, background, clothes, that kind of thing. And then when you get into the seasons and you go outside, and then you have, a lake, And I have one photo I have of her. She's on a lake, and she's actually standing on a boogie board, but you can't see it. It's submerged just below the water, and it looks like she's hovering on the lake. I was like, this is kind of cool. So things like that. And just a person, whether it's my family or otherwise, in a position in nature, that they're doing something interesting, but just how that all plays together with color and placement and that type of thing.
Yeah, I love your family outings and photos. I like to follow and see what's happening. So let's go through some of your work, Dawn. I've got two groups, so we'll start with this group. And if you want to just maybe tell us a little bit about each image as we go through them.
Yeah.
We're going to start with this one.
So that one is a typical summer day at a bed and breakfast up in Maine. It's actually one that Doug's parents own, but it's a combination of art and the wind is blowing in. You've got the subtle design elements. You've got different textures and colors, and it's a moment. It's peaceful. So that's a nice one.
I love it.
This one I love.
Hilarious.
So this is actually in Forest City, Pennsylvania, for those of you online who are well familiar with the place. It's north of Scranton by about a half an hour, and they had this kind of what I would call vintage. I think it was a repair shop or a car dealer, and they still have the signs outside that had ladies and men, and it was just fantastic. I love that kind of vintage, retro, quirky, like anything that still exists that's a slightly vintage, I'm a big fan of.
Yeah, I noticed that about your work, actually.
Like that. Yes, that's on the way to Conway, New Hampshire, heading up to the mountains. It's a little place, great place to eat, by the way, in case if you're driving by and you see it. It's just like one story little brown building somewhere out in the mountains. You should stop. But
with the antique sign.
Exactly. Yeah, as well. So yes, that's a model of a cake actually there's a banquette seat there too, which you don't realize is a banquette, and funky little curtains. Yeah.
Is it the same location, Dawn?
This is actually in a woman's house. She has like a Danish modern type deck house. Very cool, and everything's styled from like the 50s and 60s. So the whole place is styled that way, and so it's just wonderful. And this is also is a retro oven and stove in Pennsylvania.
Same place as the ladies and men?
Yep, same town. Yep. My friend's house. Yeah. I said, how do you even use the stove? Oh.
Then we're going to switch to this group here.
This one I love. So this is actually film. I remember that. It's I was in Italy, and so there's a little girl walking down the stairs, and down in the plaza there are boys playing. One's got a soccer ball or a basketball, and another one's kicking. And then there's clothes, underwear, and such hanging right there. And so there's just all these levels of buildings and entrances and walkways, and there's just people mixed in, and it's so wonderful. This was in Amalfi.
Oh, I love it.
Very cool. Amazing. Yeah. This is an old standard. So bushy trees. It's a great holiday print. It's like, yep, that's it. Bushy trees. It's just in case you didn't see it, they're bushy.
Where are these bushy trees?
That was in Arlington, Mass. Actually, they were selling trees at Christmas, and I was like, this is great advertising. So this is a sample of one of my calendars. So this was just kind of a still of one of the months, but I loved this is one of those stores you go down into the basement level, and I just love the old piece of art that was tucked in there, along with the neon sign and the albums and everything in the window. It's just a fun little spot. What's that?
Is this in Boston?
This is not. This is somewhere in New Hampshire, and I'm trying to remember the name of the town. It was a college town in New Hampshire somewhere that we went on an excursion. Might be the place where they do that pumpkin festival. Can't think of the name of the town. This one I love. This is called Ghost Leaf. And it was a leaf had blown, and it was rainy, and it was stuck to one of the lines in the road or a parking lot. And I did a double take, and I was like, is that a leaf? And I got down, and this is one of those things I'm on the ground in the parking lot after work, and taking a picture. But I just love, I mean, look at that.
Wait,
You could just eat that up.
it was actually stuck when they made the road?
It was stuck. I don't know if it blew there and then, but it looks white. Like, how did they do? Was the leaf already white, or is it like just melting into the white? I don't know why it's white, but it's white. I don't know if I don't think they sprayed over it because the lines are dark, but it was the coolest thing. So I called it ghost leaf. It's just really interesting. This, this is one of those weirdo things that I like, secondhand shops and going through those. And, I've got a weird, like, torso of a lady lamp and, things like that in my house. And this was in one of those shops, and there's this little thing sticking out, little doll sticking her head out like me. And she's like caught up in a hanger, and, she's like, please, someone notice me. And I noticed her. So I took her picture. She ended up on my calendar. A little creepy, but kind of nice. And this is, of course, a dusty piano in a building they were renovating. Used to be a schoolhouse.
And then this one, I love these type of shots.
This one I love. Yeah, we went to Coney Island in like February or March one year, and of course everything's closed, and all the amusements are closed, and it's just people. This every day. This is what Coney Island's like when there isn't people there, and I just thought it was wonderful.
So this is along when you say Coney Island, is this along the boardwalk? Like
Yeah, this is right by the pier, and where the Wonder Wheel and all those things are. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I love these type of city things.
Chicken with a Coke, it's classic. No, there's a huge chicken holding a Coke. This is at the Jersey Shore, actually. And in the background, you can see it's obviously packed. And it's hilarious. It's like he's watching everyone. He's like, yep, I'm here. I'm drinking a Coke. And it's just a funny little thing that they have at the Seaside Heights Boardwalk.
Is it a business down below, or what's his? Does he have a job? This chicken?
He's one of many strange, like, Vikings and bizarre sculptures that they used to have out back in like the 50s and 60s, and then they put them away for a while. And then after Hurricane Sandy blew through, it wrecked a whole bunch of the boardwalk, and then they ended up bringing some of these back, and so they put them all back out again. And so it's just a large sculpture, and some people would get their pictures taken with it, but he's at the edge of one of the amusements boardwalk, where they have the rides, where it borders the beach where people can go swim. So he's just sort of, I don't know if he's encouraging people to partake of the beverages. Perhaps it's an ad since it's well branded, but it's.
I wonder if he got some sort of dividends from Coke for that.
Yeah, I think this is before product placement. There may be some back pay owed from the chicken with the Coke. So I didn't sell this anywhere, just so you know. I just full disclosure, I did not sell.
Where's
Myrtle Beach? Yeah, so Myrtle Beach, it was this crazy. I went on a 4-day adventure with a friend of mine, and to visit my brother and sister-in-law. And they still have hotels like this up and down the main strip by the water. And I was like, stop the car. And it's funny because my best friend, Nicole, we would drive down, and I'm like, I just got to pull over. And she's like, uh-huh. And I go about 8 feet. Like, I got to pull over. And we probably, it probably took us like 3 hours to go a mile. So some of these pictures were from that trip, and it's so fun. It's like wonderful.
This is great.
Oh, that's lemon cat. So in Italy, of course, they have all the, the lemons are the size of basketballs, and they have feral cats everywhere. And so this guy was just really, I couldn't tell if he was going to rip my heart out or what, but I had to take his picture. He had such a great little personality. So yeah, that's him.
So this is where in Italy?
I think that's in Amalfi.
Same area?
Yeah, this one might be, I also went to Sorrento, and I went to Capri. So this might be on Capri. um, I can't remember exactly, but I'm pretty sure it was on Capri. So this little old guy, it took him a while because I actually have a digital photo of him higher up on the stairs. So what I would do is if I travel, I would take 3 cameras. I would take a panoramic camera, which I loved shooting panoramics because it's so different than everything else. And they used to have a camera called the Elf. And it was this bizarre little cartridge that you put in and it would shoot, long photos. And I took it to places like this. And then I would have the first digital camera that I had. And that, the quality is terrible compared to now. And then currently, then I would have like a 35 millimeter, which is what this was taken with. So, so it's funny to see like the film version is just, it's beautiful. But the other ones were just as interesting, but he was going down the stairs. So I would shoot with panoramic and then I shoot this one and I shoot the other one. So I'm just like pulling stuff out like Inspector Gadget, as I'm traveling. But
So what's your favorite, Dawn? What's your favorite camera?
oh gosh. Well, I have to say, just the fun format of a panoramic, it makes you think. It's like, well, you just don't go shoot anything with a panoramic. You just need one in your back pocket. And so now, of course, you could do that with an iPhone or a Samsung, which is fantastic. So it's been able to bring that back again. But I love odd formats. Instagram, I love because you can use the square. Because you're forcing that perspective of a square, and especially some of the panoramics are just great because it's a thing, it's an experience. It's like a 70 millimeter movie.
Now I have another question for you. This is beautiful.
Yes.
There's a real difference between the feeling of the film versus the digital,
Mm-hmm.
and why is
Mm-hmm.
technically why is that?
Well, I mean, you've got a lot of softness and a lot of grain. You're using grain versus pixels, so it's softer and it's delicious, really. When you look at this, it's I don't know if it's specific to the format or if it's specific to a feeling. People are born and raised with film, and then they go to digital. There's definitely uses for both. I would pick a digital over a film for certain things. But it just looks so creamy and lovely and soft.
It
So,
really, it really,
mhm,
it's a big difference.
it is.
And here we go. This one.
Underwear. How can you not laugh? It's underwear. But yeah, you look up and look at this. I mean, how amazing! Look at all those textures. I mean, there is so much happening. And that's the kind of stuff I love. You've got a little pop of flowers, and then you've got underwear, and then you've got the doors opening, and you've got these little balconies and old tile, and it's just, you could just look every square to this up and down. And this is what Italy was for me. I just was like, my head exploded. It was just so amazing. And and then you're like, well, who's in there? What do they do? And what's their story? And it starts to, you just, traveling is just so lovely for that. It just takes you out of your element and it makes you more creative by really thinking about, like, it brings you on an adventure for different reasons. At least it does for me. So I invite all of you to do that. But
It's
it's just,
traveling is huge, and
yeah,
it
it is.
helps you see better, I think, too, when you see
Mm-hmm.
something you don't know and something different. And how
Yeah,
about
this is one of the ones. This is Myrtle Beach. It's the texture, the color, like the position, and this is like, makes my brain happy. And when I see something like this, because it's vintage, and then it's perfectly placed, and even the colors, like it's got a limited palette, and even the red of the phone booth. I mean, it's a phone booth. How many of those are around anymore? It's creamy and it's like kind of a pale red. It's lovely, and the trees being the natural element, and just the line of bricks at the bottom, just kind of capping it off. It's just, how could you not stop and see that? I mean, maybe people just walk right by it. I don't know.
no, perfect.
I
Awesome.
didn't. Yeah.
Let's see what we have next. We have this one next.
Oh yeah. The best, absolute, like, best restaurant in the entire planet, like forever. So there's this, it's a restaurant that looks like it's going to fall into the ocean, but it's in a city called Atrani, which is next to Amalfi. And it's literally, that little balcony is a restaurant, and you sit out on it and just look at the ocean. And I happened to, when we were walking back from it, I happened to look, turn around and see that. So that's the panoramic. Um, camera, so you can see the full, how high up it is and just the moment. So it was a kind of a combination of shooting uh, a scene, but also capturing the moment of just like, how can you believe this even exists?
Amazing.
Yeah. Oh, this is another one of those just moments. So there's someone up on a balcony, there's clothes hanging out, there's a little old guy shuffling through the plaza. It's just like every day like that. It's beautiful.
What year was this, Dawn? When was this?
This was like, I think it was our honeymoon, so it was 2006 May. A good time of year to travel.
Yeah. And to do Europe, it's not too hot, especially Italy.
Exactly.
Oh,
And isn't this interesting? Yeah, this
yes.
was one I actually had in a show before. It's a mirror on a scooter. So it was parked up against a building, and the mirror is reflecting the balcony of the building above it.
And what
So
so you're looking at the floor or the wall here behind the mirror?
that's the wall. So
Ah,
the scooter's parked up against the wall, and it's kind of angled, the mirror is angled up so you can see the side of the building and the roof, to the neighboring building or whichever. So
see,
yeah.
guys, like Dawn just sees stuff, you know, that most of us would be like walking by, where you have to go. But you,
Usually it's actually there, not just, it's not a hallucination, usually. Now this was beautiful. This is in Paris, actually right near the um, Eiffel Tower. And we're walking back from the park there, and there's a little old man and woman holding hands. I was like, cut it out. And I'm like stalking them, behind them. Like, don't turn around because you'll get creeped out. But it was just like, it's so beautiful.
it's lovely.
Yeah, it's like you want to be them. It's like, I want that. That's so lovely.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, these ladies, I got in so much trouble for this photograph.
Uh-oh.
Well, I got yelled at. Well, the movie The Triplets of Belleville had come out around then, and that's what I don't know if anyone was familiar with the movie, but it reminded me of, there was the three, I think there were three, well, the three triplets, they're sisters. And so the three of them just, they were talking, and they got their little stockings that were sagging and their little lady shoes, and they were talking, and I'm taking a picture of the plaza. This is in Paris. And of course, the woman on the left, she's on to me. So she's like, "You're not taking a picture of me, are you?" I was like, "No, of course not. Why would you possibly think I was taking a picture of you?" Oh my. So I was. And so, I'm sorry, ma'am, but I lied. But it was such a lovely image. It was just, you've got city life and kind of everything's happening. You've got tourists, you've got people living their life, and then you've got these ladies just chit chatting.
And they're a piece of history, these women, right? This is another
Yeah.
time,
Yep.
really wonderful. The
I hope she's not, on Facebook. It's gonna hunt me down.
so that's the end. Is there any other piece that you want me to grab and show everyone?
No, I think that's it. It was just kind of a part of my archive, really. I had some images that people don't see lately. I'm not putting up the old stuff. I'm just kind of putting up the new stuff. So I've been kind of sharing lately. I've really enjoyed being on certain groups, like on Facebook. There's a photo fools group, which is fun. That it's a group of photographers all over the world, actually, and they've just been sharing little things. It's just a small group that a friend of mine, Steve, got me into, and I've been enjoying trying to post on that. I've just been busy, but they have a theme of the day, and then you got to post a picture for it. So that's been exciting. Trying to have people challenge you into posting something that's related to a topic. So ironically, the one for yesterday was gallery. So I said, oh, so I actually shared the link, but that's kind of like, you're not supposed to do that, but I was like, well, I have to do it for this one. But, that's the kind of thing I've been enjoying, like being challenged by having people asking for stuff in a way, just being like, oh, do you have a photo of this? Or do you have a photo of that? And thinking in your collection, what do you have? And sometimes I'll dig out my stuff, but so thank you for sharing those. I did enjoy seeing them again.
Yeah,
But yeah, they're not on Instagram. So, you know,
I
yeah,
enjoyed film pieces? Because I don't remember seeing anything. Or you could maybe educate me. I don't think I've seen any of your film work, or maybe I'm wrong.
No, I don't think you have. I've got stuff from Arizona that was really neat. It was a woman in a chapel on the side of the mountains that was praying, and really interesting stuff, but it's, it's film. It's just, it is different. And it's, you have to go back and scan it now. So some of it is scanned. I do have it, and I have negatives still, and some people will still print it, which is great.
Really
So
cool.
yeah, I enjoy the medium still.
Well, thank you, Dawn. I think we have some questions. So Doreen, do we have some questions? I wanted to get those in if we have a moment. Is she there?
Hi, sorry about the delay. My computer was giving me trouble. And anyway, we have a combination of questions and comments.
Mm-hmm.
So Helen had two questions. One is, Dawn, how did motherhood influence and inspire your photography?
Mm-hmm.
And please describe the atmosphere at Fable Vision.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
how did working with Peter and Paul Reynolds influence your artwork?
Excellent questions, Helen. So motherhood was fun. It still is. I'm still a mother. It's not over. My daughter's 12, so it was great. I was able to kind of really look at her as a little human, and kind of capture her world in all the craziness. Pulling stockings out of a drawer, and her, in a diaper, all those crazy pictures that you see, and just enjoying that. But it definitely brought more of a human element to my work, I think. Going from either adults and nature and animals, but, having kids, like I was never a kid person, the kids are fine, but like, I never really got into, people would have a baby and I'd be like, oh, that's nice. That's my thing. But, I wanted to be a mother. I just, not necessarily like a kid person, but that once she actually kind of softened me in that area. So now, I do actually like kids now. They're fun. It just, because they're raw talent. Like they say what they feel, and they share what they want. They're so uninhibited, and I love that. And so that's what I do, like capturing that, and being part of that. So thank you. And then Atmosphere Fablevision. So Fablevision was an animation company that was started by Peter Reynolds. Peter H. Reynolds, he was a children's book illustrator, author, and also a very talented designer of software, and all kinds of experiences across all media. So I worked with Peter for 10 years. And that was great, because when I came into Fablevision, I had just come out of a production company. So my production company, everyone, we're walking around and they're smoking and they're cursing and, that kind of thing. So everyone sort of a standard production company. And then you go into Fablevision, and it was like the Waltons. So anyone who's familiar with that old series, it was just like, gee, guys, how are you doing today? And so I was just like, what's going on? But then I kind of got into it, and then that really softened me quite a bit. And I was able to really turn it around from the glasses half empty to the glasses half full. And so it really completely changed my attitude slowly, just by being immersed in such a wonderful company, to really do more for others, and to just be positive, and kind of, embrace that, embrace the positivity. And because I saw what he did for people, he was able to, bring inspiration to other people, to children and to adults. So that really influenced my work and just my attitude about what I do. And as far as the artwork goes, I actually had worked with Peter on books. He had just started the Judy Moody series, and he was still doing character designs. And so, we would, kind of work together on that. And I helped project manage the first several of his books there, and the Stink series. And so that was nuts. I mean, the idea of like getting to work on a children's book with somebody and then having it published. So that was great. I really enjoyed that. And so Paul, as well as his twin brother, between the two of them, we ran Fablevision together. And we also opened up a children's bookstore on the side, like in my spare time. We opened up the Blue Bunny in Dedham, Massachusetts. Myself, Peter, Paul, and Paul's wife Janet. The four of us opened the store, and it's been, I think it's like years. Was it 17 or something? The anniversary is coming up like this week or next week. So that I enjoyed, and I worked there right up until I gave birth. So I was on Saturdays. I was even working at the bookstore. So that was a great part of my life, and I still, have connections. I actually was talking to Peter today, so connections to that whole world. But it really, I do love working with artists, whether they're illustrating, and I've met tons of illustrators and animators during that part of my life, and I love all of them, and the love for art and children's books continue.
Thank you. I think there's one more, Doreen. I think we have another
Yeah,
one.
there is. Excuse me. Helen also has another question, and it says, I noticed that you have an element of text as image in quite a few of your images. Why are you inspired by this?
That's interesting. I do like text because because it has a personality. It has font, it has color, it has shape, it has a vintage. It could be modern text or it could be old text if it's peeling. So that has just as much personality as the ghost leaf or anything else. It has its own story, and that it allows people to determine what it is about place and time that is going on in the photo. It helps people assess what they're looking at. It's like, oh, what is this? And it's a clue. So I do like text as a clue, but and just random words. Like, and actually in one of the shows that Gallery Sitka had, there was one of it's a bureau, and there's a doily, and there's some random things, and there's a little note on notebook paper, and it says unused, and this is naked, handwritten. It was my daughter's. I mean, she was only like 7 or something. I'm like, what is this? And so I stopped and I took a photo, and it's just like, what is that? There's a story there. So aside from like visually, it does open up some creativity and a story in that. I still don't know why she wrote those things on a piece of paper, honestly, but there is an image if someone wants to buy it. It's for sale somewhere, I think.
Yeah, no, we have it. It's actually on the wall at Gallery Sitka in Shirley. I love that image too. It's just
It's
perfect, right? It's just that moment in someone's living room or someone's bedroom, and it's just like just seeing it, like you're there. You could be there. That's what's nice about your work.
mm-hmm.
We have another question from Jennifer Jones on Facebook Live. She is asking how large are the original prints? And then, of course, she said they're so interesting. They're very nostalgic.
Ah, thank you. Well, the film ones can go larger. Usually I think they're like 10 by 16 or so. And the digital, I've been able to blow up. And now I have my newest camera is a Canon RP. And that one is a mirrorless, and that's been interesting versus a standard DSLR. So that I have not blown up anything large with that, but I think the largest thing in your gallery, Tamar, was a 24 by 24, I think, or 20 by 20. It's a large sort of image it's a shadow of me, but it's in a square. I think that's the one. Or was it the soap? But anyhow, that's about 24 by 24 is the largest I can blow it up. And then at that point, it does soften quite a bit, but depending on the subject matter, that kind of works for some things, but not others.
Well, with the film, could you go much larger, Dawn? Is it possible with the film to go larger?
I think so, probably. I haven't tried it, but I'm sure it just gets a little softer. But depending on what the subject matter is, it's probably fine. I just don't know. I haven't had the need to print anything really. I'd love to have the need to print something really large, but I haven't had it yet. I relish the day when I'm making something huge. Let's do it. I need a reason.
Doreen, do we have anything else from anybody?
Well, there's some comments on Facebook, a series of comments from Amy McCoy.
Oh my God,
the first one being, because you are a Virgo, and then a smiley face. And then there's another one that says 100% agree. This was commenting, I believe, on Tamar's comments about Dawn's work. It says 100% agree. Dawn has a fabulous eye, such a talented street photographer. And then she said she loved this image, though I don't know which one it was in regards to. And the patterns in the Amalfi shot are fabulous. And then we have Kathleen Kent, who is acknowledging it's a beautiful show.
Oh, thank you.
Wonderful.
My cats are beating my door in. Someone must not have fed the cats.
Thank you so much, Dawn, for being with us. I feel like we need another hour, but we're almost at our hour today. So I wanted to do a little wrap up here. If anybody has any other comments, feel free to put them in the chat, or we can reach out to Dawn. I'm sure most of you guys know her. And so, Dawn, could you tell the public, since we are public right now, if they would like to hire you to shoot something, how can they contact you?
Sure. So my email is dawn@dawnlee.com, DAWN at DAWNLY.com, which is also my website, dawnlee.com. So I have some basic kind of, information there about what I do. And also I encourage people to check out my Instagram page as well. That's sort of the day-to-day life, which is, it's Dawn Haley Morton. The Instagram handle. I think it's all one word. I probably should have looked that up. But that's in there. But that's kind of more of like my stream of consciousness photography versus the website, and also the gallery has photos as well. And that's more of my curated work, shall we say. But it's all fun.
It is. It's awesome. Well, thank you for joining us tonight. This is our harvest show, late summer, early autumn harvest show that was juried by 3 amazing women. If you go to gallerysitka.com, there's a harvest tab right at the top. You can see the entire show. You can see Dawn's piece there, as well as everyone else. And we'll be back online again next Friday at 6 o'clock. We're going to be discussing Linda Reed's work. She's a New Hampshire collage artist. And we thank you guys for supporting the arts. If you have any questions about Dawn's work, you can reach out to us at Gallery Sitka on all social media too. So have a great night, everybody. We really appreciate you joining us. And thank you so much, Dawn, for being with us tonight.
Thank you, Tamar.
Stop. All right, good night, everybody.